Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another session of Research and Publication Ethics. And I hope you remember in last class we were talking about different types of philosophy. We talk about logic, we talk about religion, we talk about ethics, and a little bit more we want to talk about philosophy. That one thing we were not able to discuss yesterday. I mean, in the last session, that was the morality. When you think of our culture, when you think of our value, when you think of our custom, somewhere you will see that morality is a part of our culture, morality is part of our values, morality is part of our day to day activity, daily routine activity. So that is somewhere linked with the moral values, morality. So here you can see on the right side this picture, everybody. Let me put myself a bit up. Here you can see uh, two things, good and evil. Here you can see two reflection of a person. So morality teaches that whether you will be doing a right kind of act or you will be doing a bad or evil kind of things. So morality, as far as morality is concerned, it has been taken from Latin word. It means manner, character, proper behavior is the differentiation of intentions, decisions, and action between those that are distinguished as proper and those that improper. So now here you can see very clearly. Uh, you see in our cultures, you see in our religion, what is important. I believe character of a person is the most important thing. You may sacrifice, compromise with money. You can sacrifice, compromise with all everything you have, but you cannot sacrifice or compromise with character. So here, a person character play a very very important role. So person image, person respect, person recognition, it is there because of his or her character. So at any cost, you might have seen Ramayana or Mahabharata also. Why these two, you know, very very religious concept, religious program are still relevant? The reason is this, that you might have seen different people with different character, and these two programs tell us, guide us that yes, you need to have this kind of character, a moral character, proper behavior, and you should have manner to conduct this, this, and this. So manner play a very important role, character play a very, very important role. And here it's the intentions. What is your intention? What do you feel? Do you have this kind of attitude? Do you have this kind of perception? You have seen many times that nowadays students, they have very negative approach towards everything, right? You talk to them and discuss with them that what would you like to learn. So they have a misperception that they know everything, and this perception become attitude. And I don't know whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, but they sometimes take this kind of decisions, and they misbehave also sometimes, right? So you need to see that what kind of culture we have, what kind of manner, character, behavior, intention, perception, attitude, what is proper and what is improper. Simple, very very simple. So whenever you see our society, community, so when you see a particular person behavior that this person is honest, so it will represent that he belongs to a family where everybody would be honest, right? So this is what a morality, it's not a one thing, one dimension, but it has different dimension, different understanding, and different concepts. Here you can see can be a body of standards or principles derived from a code of conduct, from a particular philosophy, religion or culture, or it can be derived from a standard that a person believes should be universal. So here you see nowadays there has been a lot of discussion that should you be guided by your culture, a religion, or a particular philosophy, or whatever principles we have, it should be standardized for all, and everybody should believe on this earth that when something is wrong, it should be wrong for all. When something is good, it should be good for all. So it should not be linked with any particular religion, particular community, or a particular culture, right? Otherwise, what would happen? It would be a kind of bias. So here these principles should be come from a code of conduct, and it should represent a common standards for all. It should not be that these particular religion or community have these privileges. No, 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 it should not be like that. It should be same for all. So we will not discuss much because we have to jump to next discussion. So morality is synonymous with goodness or rightness. Okay, so here you can see where does morality come from. So here you can see morality comes from your community. You live in a community. You are a part of a community. You are a part of a particular society, right? That society may be because you have a such kind of a profession, so you belong to that particular community. You have some kind of what you call learning, or you are by birth, you are living in a rural area, so you represent rural area, you represent local rural community. Similarly, here you can see moral, as far as moral values are concerned, it actually comes from your parents. Parents teach you that how you should behave, how you should act, and how you should react. This is very important. You might have seen that children learns from parents. It's you're not supposed to teach your children. They see you, they observe you, and they learn that the way parents behave, parents act, parents react, in the same manner your children would be behaving. Moral values comes from community, society, parents, and your beliefs. For example, belief could be when you see a cat. Suppose cat cross your road, especially a black cat, then what would be your reaction? So over the period of time, we have been learning one concept. When a cat cross your road, right? Cat cross the road, then you are not supposed to immediately cross the road, because it would not be a good thing. So something bad will occur, something bad will be there. So you're not supposed to do like this. So let me see how many you believe, or you can share a different kind of belief. One I have given you. Second could be whenever we go to Allahabad, Banaras, or Haridwar, we take a bath in a holy river Ganga. The reason is that it will take care of all ailment, और कहा जाता है कि हमारे जो पाप किए हैं वो उसमें धुल जाएंगे. आपको क्या लगता है कि ये जो बिलीव्स हैं हमारे कल्चर में, हो सकता है और भी तरह के बिलीव्स होते हैं, जैसे मैंने बताया कि इफ अ कैट क्रॉस द रोड, देन व्हाट काइंड ऑफ behavior you will show. Morality comes from community, society, parents, belief, and religion also. You represent a particular religion. You are a part of a particular religion. So uh, that somewhere you have some kind of relationship with the God, with Guru, and so what happens over the period of time? You start believing in that if this happen like this, then this kind of things will occur. So in religion, different religion, you will see a different kind of things, right? So I will not talk much about this, but here you can see social norms. And because we all are part of a society, so together we decide that we will have this kind of code of conduct, we'll have this kind of rules and regulation, and we will have this kind of things, right? And then uh, we communicate this morality from one generation to another generation to next generation. So it's based on a relationship. So basic principles, or you can see, the first principle: always do good things, avoid evil. The end does not justify the mean, right? Okay. Follow what nature intends. Do to others whatever you would have them to do to you. So it is like this, that you should do good things for others because you expect good things from others for you, right? It may be you give respect, then you can expect that other will give you respect. And here you can see, if you want to know more about morality, these are text, and I believe this video you can see whenever you want. And so we end with morality here. So this was all about the morality, logic, we discussed religion, and these all were part of philosophy. These all were part of philosophy. Okay. So this was all about first unit. In first unit, we talk about philosophy and ethics, and now we are entering into unit 2. So in total, we have 5 units. So the unit 2, it is about scientific conduct. Scientific conduct means when you conduct a research, or when you go for a publication, what is the scientific way of conducting a research, or what is the scientific way of publication? So that we will discuss today. So we start with unit second, and here you can see lecture 6. Okay, so let us move further. So what we gonna do, what I have done, unit 2 have been bifurcated into A, B, C, D, E and F. So A, B, C we will discuss in lecture 6. The remaining part D, E, F we will discuss in lecture 7. Right, everybody? So we start lecture 6, unit 2, and the title of the unit is Scientific Conduct. So today we will discuss ethics with respect to science and research. In general, we know the ethics, right? Then we will talk about intellectual honesty, and then we'll talk about research integrity. So these three things we will discuss in unit 2, lecture 6. So this is lecture 6, then we'll discuss lecture 7. So we start with A. Here you can see ethics with respect to science and research. So what is ethics? We know, in general, we know what is ethics. In general, we know what is science. How those two, ethics and science, are related? This is a big question. This is a big question. So now you understand here, we were talking about ethics, science, that is pure science, plus we were talking about social science. How these two, ethics and science, are related? If ethics are not there in your research, in your social science research or science research, then there would be no meaning of research, because research would be based on biasness, and whatever you feel you will be writing, and that would not be an ethical work. So in ethics, what you need to do, whatever fact you see as it is, you need to represent it without any biasness. Here you say ethics in science research. So science ethical standards are based on the goals of scientific profession, which include: first, as a scientific researcher, as a social science researcher, first rule is the quest for knowledge. You should be hungry to get more and more knowledge. Get more and more knowledge. You should have that kind of passion, that you want to have more and more and more and more knowledge. Second, it is your duty with your research, that it will take care or eliminate ignorance, elimination of ignorance. So that is the beauty of education or knowledge or science, that it gave you an opportunity to ask maximum number of questions. Whatever you have questions, whether right question, wrong question, weird questions, please do ask questions. So here that is the first things, because anyone can ask you, why did you select this topic, how did you conduct this research. So before anyone asks you any question, you should have lot of questions about the knowledge, that how did you know that what you know. And it will help you to eliminate ignorance. And then finally, whatever outcome, whatever output you give with your research, that would be a solution of practical problems. So in social science also, it's not in pure science, in social science also, we try to find out real social problems, real society problems, real community problems. For example, the role of women, the role of women or women empowerment, right? That we want to see, that because of education in India, whether women have been empowered, or with education, there is no role of education in the women empowerment. So this is one social issue, social practical problem. We see that, okay, we want to understand that why people, they prefer offline classes instead of online classes, right? So this is practical problem, why people like online classes in comparison to offline classes. So you need to find out solution, and you need to make a such kind of research that out of 1,000 students in a particular college, you make a survey, how many of them like or dislike online classes, and why they like or dislike online classes. So here you are giving a solution to a practical problem, that lot of students, they don't prefer online classes, right? So similarly, this is just a one example, this is just a one or two example. You can, or in India we have MBA institute. So MBA institutes are known for what? They are known because their student get good job, and they get good package, good salary. But why lot of students in MBA institutions, why don't they start their own startup? Why don't they become entrepreneurs? So that is the practical problem. You need to find out solution. So whatever research you are conducting as a researcher, what you need to do before you start your research, find out a practical problem which will offer a practical solution to a particular problem in the society. So here you can see, uh, as a social science researcher, the first ethical standard would be, you should have, passion to know about a lot of things. You should have quest for knowledge. Second, your PhD, your research would be to eliminate the ignorance, and it will provide a unique solution or a practical solution to a practical problem. And here you can see, ethical conduct in science should not violate commonly accepted moral standards. See, this is very important. Whatever you do scientifically, it should not be against of moral values, moral standards, which are there in a particular community, particular society, because particular society, particular community, they live their life with some rules and regulation, and you cannot break these rules and regulation, you cannot break this code of conduct. There is no use of research if you violate their privacy, if you violate their code of conduct, or if you violate their personal problems. Before that, if you conduct a kind of research on a particular community or a particular problem, uh, what you need to do, you need to take consent from them. It would be ethical to discuss with them that I am conducting this research not for any commercial purpose but academic purpose, or to give some value addition to existing knowledge, or to know about some particular problem, and you are here to find out a solution to a problem, right? So it should promote the advancement of scientific goal. So what is scientific goal? Practical solution, but with moral standards, with the social acceptance, so let us move further. Here are the some principles you must know. First, you have a duty to society. When you conduct a research, you take information from society, you represent a society, you know what is wrong, what is right in a society, you know the code of conduct of a society, you know values, you know belief of a society. You cannot break trust of a society, you cannot go against a belief of a society. So it's your duty to take care of the society norms, society belief, and society values. Second very important principle, you need to understand the conflict of interest. Conflict of interest may be because it's not only you who is conducting a research, there are many people, those who are directly indirectly related to you and your research. The first person would be your supervisor. So make sure you don't have any fight or any conflict of interest with your supervisor. Second is your institution where you are doing your research or PhD. So you should not have any conflict with your institution, or the society or the people, those who will give answer to your questionnaire or questions. They are also, stakeholder. So you should not have any conflict with them also. So here you see, there must not be any conflict of interest with any stakeholders who may be directly or indirectly somewhere related to your research. Then very important thing, when you collect data, when you take information, make sure that in writing you take permission, and it should be informed consent that I am collecting information from respondent, कि मैं भाई आपसे ये डाटा कलेक्ट कर रहा हूं, मैं आपसे इन्फॉर्म कर दिया कि मैं ये चीजें आपसे लूंगा, और वो भी राइटिंग में होनी चाहिए. इट्स कॉल्ड इन्फॉर्म कंसेंट. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. नेट इंटीग्रिटी. Integrity means whatever information you have collected, you are not supposed to give it to anyone else. You should not disclose to anyone else, because it's a matter of privacy, that whatever information they share with you, it should be it's a kind of personal information. Next, non-discrimination. You cannot discriminate among people, that he is poor, she is poor, or there should not be a discrimination between male and female or children. For you as a researcher, all are same, whether they belong to any caste, creed, right? They all are same, whether they are white, black, there should not be any, discrimination on the basis of caste and creed. So you should be a neutral person. You should be a neutral person. And then, because you are a knowledgeable person, and sometime if you conduct a research on tribal area, so you feel that you are somewhere a bit superior because you are educated, and you are a knowledgeable person, and because of that there may be a situation that you exploit them. So as a social science researcher, you should never ever try to exploit any opportunity which may be harmful to the community or a particular society, because you are knowledgeable or you are an educated person. Then privacy. Because you are collecting information from individual, you are collecting information in terms of their income, their education, right? Sometime you collect data about their mobile number, email, sometime their Aadhaar card also. So it's all this, or the date of birth. These all are matter of privacy. And privacy is linked with confidential, that whatever data you collect, it should remain confidential. And here professional competency, professional discipline. So please, here you can see you need to understand this professionalism. You need to show professional competency, some kind of a discipline. uh, you should not harm anyone, right? So these all are different principles of ethics or standard of ethics you need to follow when you are going for a research. These are few common, very common, kind of principles. Honesty, which we have learned from our childhood. Carefulness, you should not be a lazy. You cannot say that I couldn't get time, that's why I didn't do like this. You should be very careful. Openness, whatever data you collect, later or sooner you need to disclose it, because whenever you take money from government, you conduct a project, it's your responsibility. It's not your private property. It is now government property. So you need to disclose all the information. It should be openness, it should not be subjective rather, right? And you should be you should not work under some kind of caution or some kind of undue influence. You should be a free person, because you will give some information which we can rely upon. We can trust to you if you are free and you can give a right kind of information. And because you are also part of a society, it's your social responsibility to disclose right information. Sometimes some information you're not supposed to disclose, so make sure you're not disclosing that personal information, right? Then efficiency and respect to subject, whosoever is the subject, poor, rich, uh, male, female, children, right? You need to respect all. This is very important. So this is ethics, which is somewhere reflecting on scientific research, because social science research is also a kind of scientific research. So if you want to know more about it, here we have link, and here we have some video also, and you can see this. So let us continue. Let me see if you have any query, whatever we have. So we continue with the second part. Now it's about intellectual honesty. We all are honest, but what is this intellectual honesty? We'll talk about this now. So intellectual honesty is an applied method of problem solving, characterized by unbiased, honest attitude, which can be demonstrated in a number of different ways. So you are honest, that absolutely okay. But you need to be intellectually honest. It means whenever you are providing a solution to a particular problem, it should not be a biased solution, because generally what happens, you conduct a research on a topic you are familiar with, right? I hope you all agree that I would like to do research on life insurance, because my father is in life insurance. I want to conduct some research on banking, because my uncle is in banking sector. So it's absolutely fine that you have some relationship with LIC or bank. That absolutely fine. But here you cannot give your own opinion. You cannot be biased that I know this, so other people would also have similar kind of understanding. No, this is not so. This is not so, right? And the attitude, whatever attitude you have developed, it should be very positive and honest, right? So which can be demonstrated in a number of different ways. Let us see these different ways. First, one's personal belief or politics do not interfere with the pursuit of truth. What is your role as a researcher? To give fact, to find out truth. Your personal belief, your politics, it should not interfere your research. So whatever belief, whatever idea you have, whatever perception you have, keep it away. You are a neutral person. You don't know what is happening. right? You are like a null hypothesis, that you don't know what is this. I hope you understand null hypothesis. So you should not be a biased. You should be you should have very honest attitude, that okay, whatever is there, you take as it is. It should not be that you have some belief and you start that other would also have similar kind of belief. No, it's not possible. It's not required. It's not so, right? Then it's your duty, because it's about not only honesty but intellectual honesty, are relevant facts, that whatever research you are conducting, whatever relevant information you can collect, whatever relevant fact you can collect, right, for the purpose of your research, that you should disclose. Purposefully you should not delete, right? You should not delete when it's a somewhere critical or contradictory to your hypothesis. It absolutely fine your hypothesis is not rejected. It's absolutely fine, right? Because it is as per the fact. You can't do anything. So don't try to omit it. Otherwise, I have seen a lot of people, they delete the data because their hypothesis is not accepted, right? You should not do this. It would be not a honest, it would not be intellectual honesty. Intellectual honesty would be, if your hypothesis is not rejected, even in that case, whatever relevant information is there, you need to give that information, right? Because of this is happening. That's why we have this kind of outcome or output. I hope this is clear to all. Then let us move further. Facts are presented in an unbiased manner. You may be a part of that community, you may be a part of that society, so you have learned over the period of time that these people behave in such a manner, and on the basis of a research you find something else. But you were part of that community and that society. What you will do, you will give uh, your understanding. So just take care of, just keep away your understanding. You are a neutral person, you are a unbiased, you cannot be a biased, right? And don't mislead, don't give any misleading impression, that supporting one or rejecting other and supporting other. No, it's not required. Whatever is there, it should be as it is. And then references or earlier work are acknowledged. Don't say that it is, I feel, I know this. It is not like that. What you need to do, whatever idea comes to you, it would be coming from some book, some research paper, some article, some PhD thesis, or from friends. So mention, give them reference, give their reference, that these many people have conducted this kind of research. So on the basis of that, this information I have collected. Please acknowledge them, please cite them, and please take care of plagiarism. Please avoid plagiarism, right? So now quickly, I hope this is clear to all of you, intellectually honesty. So now let us continue with research integrity. So we have already discussed honesty, and now let us jump to another topic, that is research integrity. So honesty, why honesty? We expect from you not only basic honesty, but the intellectual honesty, because you all are knowledgeable people, you all are intelligent people, you are, you're not careless, you all are careful people. So you cannot give kind of, what you call excuses, that I was not aware of this. You can't say like this, because you all are, intelligent, honest people. So now start with research integrity. So what is this research integrity? Let us see what is research integrity. Here you can see, as I was mentioning earlier, whatever information you collect, you need to cite that source you need to acknowledge that person or institution. So this topic I have taken from a website, and the website of the University of Edinburgh. So I am acknowledging here to this. This is what a research integrity. So research integrity means conducting a research in a such a way that allows others to have confidence and trust in the methods and findings of the research. Now you can see how important you are. People have confidence in you. People have trust in you. Not only in you, but whatever research you would be conducting, whatever methods you would be using, and whatever outcome in terms of findings you give of your research, people believe in you, people trust you. So here research integrity relate both to the scientific integrity of the conducting research and to the professional integrity of the research. So scientifically plus professionally, you should be you should show integrity, that yes, professionally I am very sound, scientifically I am very sound, and I show integrity, full integrity. Integrity means you believe in me, you trust in me, and you can show confidence in me because I have used, I'm very honest, and I have selected right kind of method and right kind of process of conducting a research. So because I have selected scientific way of conducting a research, scientific way of doing a research step by step, so my findings are also trustworthy. Key elements of research integrity includes, here you can see, again it's a honesty. You need to be very rigorous, hardworking person, and whatever comes out, it should be transparent, and you need to communicate to all that this is the output, this is the outcome. It should be open, right? That's why we see that in fourth unit we'll talk about open source, open accessibility of publication. So where now what we want, that whatever publication we have, it should be in open access, that anyone can see it on this earth, not people from India. The whole world can see your research. So now, instead for going for hard copy of your paper publication, what we are doing, we have open access to your research. And I also feel that whenever you want to read some article, some paper, you need to pay money. Why should you pay money? What you need to do, there should be a open access, online access to all the resources, all the papers, all the articles, all the research paper, all the journals, so that you can access it, you can read it, and then you can use that information for your research purpose. So now this is one another initiative by Government of India and UGC, that wherever you send your paper for publication, it should be in open access. And in future, whosoever would like to read your paper, they are free to read without any charges, without any fees. The care and respect of all the participant, whosoever, whether reader, respondent, any stakeholder, you need to respect them. And you are accountable for your research, because research, you have used scientific method, you are saying you are ethical, you have used right kind of methods, tools and techniques for conducting a research. So for all findings, all research, you are accountable. So these elements should be present at all stages of research. Research ethics is a key criteria for research integrity. So let me show you this process. Here you can see everybody. I hope you all are going to start your research. What you need to do, here you have this step-by-step process of conducting a research. What you need to do, why you need to collect data. So first step, identify data needs. Second, spell out research questions. What questions you have, what practical problems you have. So define these practical problems in terms of questions. And then on the basis of our questions, these are following objectives you're gonna achieve. Then plan analysis, that what would be the research design. Research design means how you will collect data, from whom you will collect data, how much data you will collect, whether it will be a quantitative or qualitative. Then next thing in research design, what kind of tools and techniques you will be using for analysis. So that would be research design. How you will collect data? Through interview or through questionnaire. How many people, sample size, that would be also part of that, right? Tools and techniques, which method or which test you should use for analysis. So you can see last week I have uploaded one presentation on YouTube channel. It give you right kind of information which test you should use for your analysis. ANOVA, t-test, correlation, regression. So all basic information I have uploaded on this video, so that you can see. So here we are talking about different steps of a research. So after collection instrument, that may be a questionnaire, collect data, analyze data with some test, draw conclusion, then give some recommendation and tell everybody that these are my findings, these are my outcome, this is my output, right everybody? So this is I hope you can see life cycle of research. If you have any query, we can discuss this also, how to go step by step to conduct your research, maybe in any session, so that we can discuss. So here you can see it's some suggestions. If you want to read more about this information, you can see a text also and video also, so both things are available. So thank you very much. We have discussed very important thing here today: research integrity, honesty. These things are very important, because whenever you conduct a research, you must understand these all terms, right? So we'll continue with next session, that would be unit 2, and we already have discussed A, B, C. Now we'll discuss D, and then we'll discuss E and F, right everybody? And